Riders, ridettes, and pillions, welcome to my first ride review of the 2021 Royal Enfield Himalayan here on the Van Blam YouTube channel. Alright, here we are with the 2021 Royal Enfield Himalayan in Arvada, Colorado. I rented this bike through a service called Riders Share. It's kind of the Turo of motorcycles. This was actually my first time using it, and the experience has been pretty good so far. The owner of this bike has done just under 700 miles on it. I will be contributing to that number pretty significantly over the next day and a half. So what is the Royal Enfield Himalayan? Well, to put it as simply as possible, it's a low displacement adventure bike. Now that is a pretty small segment of motorcycles, but it is a growing one with recent offerings from KTM and BMW. Another motorcycle that has a lot in common with the Himalayan is actually my very first motorcycle, the Honda CB500X. But what sets the Himalayan apart from all of those is that it's got this timeless character to it. You know, it's got kind of a retro thing going on. Now, it is a modern machine with fuel injection and anti-lock brakes, but it's really the only option in that small adventure bike category that has any sort of retro style to it. I mean, that's kind of Royal Enfield's thing, right? They're one of the oldest motorcycle manufacturers in the world. Every model they make has kind of that timeless style to it. I would hesitate to even call it a throwback because there's never been a time when Royal Enfields did not look like they do now. Now, the other thing that distinguishes the Himalayan from the other small ADVs is that it's probably the most competent off-road. The KTM 390 Adventure, the BMW 310 GS, those are really road bikes at heart with some off-road ability worked into them. My CB500X was really a road bike that just happened to have a squishy suspension and trail tires. But this is actually built with the dirt in mind. Built for all roads, built for no roads. That's the motto of this bike. I'm sure you're aware of Itchy Boots, who rode Himalayans all over the world on all types of roads in all sorts of conditions. So while I have this bike in my possession, I do want to find out how it performs off-road. But first, what we're doing right now is finding out how it performs on-road. And so far here on Golden Gate Canyon Road, it doesn't handle bad at all. Now the motor is, of course, agricultural. I think we're looking at about 25 horsepower and roughly 30 newton meters of torque. And I believe all 30 of those are positioned very low in the rev range. This is definitely meant to plod along rough roads, not really meant to pack on speed at high RPM. This reminds me of my old TU250X in the way you can just pin the throttle and nothing happens. I mean, we're here in third gear, half throttle, 5,000 RPM. I pin it and you barely even feel it moving. But you know what? In spite of that, my TU was an absolute blast to ride. And so far, this doesn't seem any different. You just got to keep that momentum up and just tip it into those corners. I'm really surprised at how eager this thing is to lean over. I suspect that is an unintended byproduct of the skinny tires and the fact that it carries its weight pretty high. But it still makes it feel like when you want to hustle through the corners, the bike is happy to do it. Shifting it is fun and feels good. You just gotta be kind of slow and methodical with it. It doesn't really want those like sport bike slam shifts. I also find it incredibly easy to rev match on the downshift. Barely a twitch going from third to second. I'm also really surprised at how satisfying the engine note is. It's got a nice little thump to it. Okay, the brakes they work. They're not sporty. I mean, it's a small single disc in the front. The calipers are branded Vibre, which I believe is the low-budget line from Brembo. All right, time to go off pavement. This is where this bike is supposed to really shine. Now, I have very little off-road or off-pavement experience on any motorcycle, but this is meant to be a pretty approachable model. Selling a small displacement motorcycle of any category in the United States, it pretty much has to be beginner-friendly. On an episode of Revzilla's Common Tread Experience, they proved that the Himalayan can tackle some pretty gnarly trails with a skilled enough rider. But in that video, they were careful to note that the cameraman's Honda CRF 250L Dual Sport made short work of the same trails that Zach and Ari struggled through. And they are infinitely better at this type of riding than I am. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think this motorcycle is targeted more at off-pavement riding than it is at off-road or off-trail riding. Rough, rocky, dirt or mud roads, or even fire roads, I think are where the Himalayan is meant to shine. Oh, shit. So I just got caught off guard a little bit. This road got steep really fast, and I found myself struggling to stop before that turn came up. I had to flip my blinkers on and sit there while I figured out how to disable the anti-lock brakes. Yeah, like I said, I have pretty close to zero dirt riding experience, just why I wanted to stick to a nice, just flat, unpaved road like this. And since this is a bike that will be appealing to new riders, I think this is a fairly realistic representation of the kind of dirt riding that most of them could expect to do, at least for a while. Then maybe once they build their skills up on dirt roads like this, then they could either move on to some more advanced trails or fire roads, or decide that they'd rather have a more capable dual sport. Although between Revzilla and Itchy Boots, it's been proven that there are not many places the Himalayan can't go with enough determination, patience, and skill. You know something? I am having a good time. Let's talk about some of the other features and controls that we have here on the motorcycle. This is a pretty simple setup. Just about everything is analog dials. We have a fuel gauge, a gear position indicator, a clock, and an outdoor air thermometer. All very nice touches on a bike like this. Another really cool thing we got here is a compass. It tells you what direction you're headed, and then it has a little arrow that always points north. Could be very much appreciated if you find yourself getting disoriented out here in the woods and don't have cell or GPS signal. Oh, and it looks like we're out of the dirt. Oh, I know this road. Getting back on the pavement feels pretty darn good. I actually can't decide where I've enjoyed this bike more. The tires on here are Pirelli MT60s, which I think were a fantastic choice on Royal Enfield's part. I have felt nothing but complete confidence on the road, and as we saw, they were good enough for my use on that dirt road. So I just stopped for a little break here in Clear Creek. I'm about to get back on the road. My original plan had been to ride this bike kind of in a loop today, and I'm like almost done with the loop. Instead, I'm going to go back the way I came, do it all again in the reverse direction. That's how much fun I was having earlier. But before we hop back on, let's talk about styling. So like I said, this bike is meant to be pretty timeless. Enfield has a well-earned fixation on heritage, and the looks of all their motorcycles reflect that. This one is no exception. I doubt it's going to fool anyone into thinking it was manufactured in like the 50s or 60s or something like that, but it does have that retro, timeless design language. To be honest, I would say the most modern thing on the bike is probably this Himalayan logo here on the side.
Good day for a ride.
Yeah, it too. And that's something that just happens when you're on a bike with character like this. People just want to look at it and they want to talk to you. I find that when I ride Triumphs as well. The owner of this bike has optioned the official Royal Enfield hard saddlebags, which seem pretty excellent. It also comes standard with a luggage rack here, which is a very nice touch, and it comes standard with a center stand. The kickstand footprint is very, very small, and I've found that when I try to park the bike on dirt, it threatens to sink in and tip the bike over. But the tip of it looks sort of bent here, so I'm not sure if somebody damaged that at some point on this particular motorcycle, but if it was designed that way, it's a poor design. I really, really like the color scheme here on the tank. You actually get a lot of different color options. I can't say for sure which one I'd pick, but if I ended up with this black with the white stripe through the gray tank panel here, I'd be pretty happy with this. Lastly, there is, of course, these crash bars here. I personally don't care for them. I know some people think they're cool. They obviously add protection to the bike, and they add another point where you can like lash on side bags or something. I would rather have like something protecting the engine. I'm not sure why having bars up here was a higher priority than having bars down there. I think that really was an aesthetic choice. And if you like it, then good for you. But if this was my motorcycle, I would probably take them off. This motorcycle definitely looks off-road capable. It's got that rugged, go-anywhere look. The large front-spoked wheel helps with that. The high handlebars help with that. The crash bars, of course, and the hard luggage in this case. This thing looks tough, that's for sure. As we get back on the road, let's talk about ergonomics. The seat height is nice and low. It is, in fact, this number that's on the screen. I am 5'9" on a good day with a 30-inch inseam, and I have no trouble swinging my leg over this bike, with the exception of occasionally bonking my foot on the saddlebags that are here. Once I'm seated, I can easily get the balls of both feet on the ground. I feel I have complete confidence over this motorcycle in parking lots and tight quarters. I think if I had thicker boots on, I could probably get my heels all the way down. The bars are a little bit narrow, which, according to some people, might put you at a bit of a disadvantage in the dirt, but for the kind of riding I do, I've found them to be totally fine so far. The foot pegs are... If you're sitting all the way up against the tank, they are directly underneath your butt. Seat comfort seems pretty great so far. I've been in the saddle for a little while now, and I don't feel sore at all. I could easily do a long day on this motorcycle on the right roads. It's nice and wide and squishy and supportive, and I have plenty of room to shift around and try to find relief in the middle of a long day. Your passenger will be equally as comfortable as you are on this motorcycle, with a nice big squishy pillion seat and plenty of handholds to grab onto. Both the rider and passenger foot pegs are rubber coated, which is nice to absorb some of the vibration of this single cylinder. Last note on comfort, we have a windscreen up front which doesn't appear to be adjustable in height, but I'll correct myself on the screen if it is. I don't really care for windshields. Wind blast doesn't bother me at all, but I know it's really important to a lot of people. And since this one's non-adjustable, you would definitely want to take one of these for a test ride if possible to make sure that you don't get any serious buffeting on the highway. If this were my bike, again, just like with the crash bars, I might try to take it off. Hell, by the time I'm done with it, it might actually be like a scrambler. Alright, we are about to go back up Smith Hill Road, the dirt road from before, and I noticed that when the bike shut off and turned back on, ABS was reactivated in the rear, so I'm going to disable that again. Hold down the little button. Gotta really hold that button in. Come on now. There you go. You gotta really hold that button in for a while. Funny thing I've noticed, the gear position indicator is there on the dash, but when you have the bike in neutral, it reads 0 instead of N. We are in 0th gear right now. So yeah, in this video, you are watching me just about triple my dirt riding experience in one go. I don't have much to say about the suspension. It's definitely budget components. It appears to be non-adjustable, but I have no complaints so far for what I've been doing. Plenty comfortable, that's for sure. Alright, so got caught there at about 3,000 RPM, but she just plodded on through. Are you letting me? Oh, thank you very much. Alright, and we're down into first. That was a very steep hill, and I don't exactly know what I'm doing. But honestly, I think anybody could ride this bike. This would be a great first motorcycle, and I think it would be a great second or third motorcycle if you want to do some like light off-roading, or maybe if you're a really big-time dirt rider and you want to do some light on-roading. This might be a good choice for you as well. And we're back to the pavement again. So, would I buy a Royal Enfield Himalayan? Yes, I absolutely would. As a stablemate to my Triumph Speed Twin, I could, you know, take longer rides, go on tours with the other bike, and, you know, rip it up on the sporty roads, and then use this as like a very economical commuter, especially with these locking hard cases. And then on weekends, it could handle all of my off-pavement needs, which are not very demanding in my case. This is like the perfect moto camping bike. I'm also somebody who puts their motorcycles in front of the camera a lot, so it having that leg up over its competition in terms of style is important to me. I would even say that that alone is enough to sell me on the Himalayan out of the entire mini ADV category. The other thing that could very easily persuade me to add one of these to my garage is the price tag. The MSRP is, just so I don't misquote it, the MSRP is this on the screen, which undercuts its competition by quite a lot. So we're out here on the highway now, doing about 70. We are in 5th gear. It's only a 5-speed. Looking at about 5,500 RPM. So it's got a little bit more to give. I would guess the top speed on this bike is about 80. Feeling all right. I certainly don't have much passing power left. Full throttle at the red line in top gear, going downhill, and it's just over 80 miles an hour. But yeah, back down to 60, 65. I can sustain this pretty comfortably. Again, not much passing power left. I'm gonna hang out in the right lane for the most part, but I'm at least comfortable. I don't feel like I'm pushing the bike too hard or anything like that. I don't think I would want to do any like interstate riding, you know, where the speed limit's like 80 miles an hour, or if I did, I would keep it to a bare minimum. But this is fine when you need to do it. I could see somebody owning this motorcycle like in the suburbs and taking it out into the mountains, maybe doing a little camping on weekends, and then on weekdays taking the highway into the city to go to work. This bike is easy to ride, easy to balance, easy on gas. That suspension will soak up anything, and it has ABS. Not sure what more you could want from a city bike. So I think it's about time to wrap this video up. Tomorrow, I'm going to take the Himalayan out on what I feel is a proper adventure, so you can look forward to seeing that video sometime soon. The guy I rented this from on Riders Share, Jason, has been really great so far. So if you're in the Denver area and you're interested in checking out a Royal Enfield Himalayan, definitely hit him up. I will put a link to his listing in the description below. I will also put my sign-up link for Riders Share, which can get you something that I am putting on the screen right now. That also helps me out a little bit. I don't have any affiliation with Riders Share at this time, but who knows, maybe if I draw enough traffic to their site, it'll get their attention. If you've enjoyed watching this first ride review of the Royal Enfield Himalayan, make sure you hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see what else I get up to with this motorcycle, as well as my own Triumph Speed Twin while I'm out here in the West and beyond, then make sure you subscribe to this channel. Lastly, if you are local to the Washington, D.C. area, or even live within a few hours of it, and want to see your motorcycle featured on my channel, then hit me up on Instagram or by email. And if you have any questions for me about the Royal Enfield Himalayan, leave them in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Ride safe, and I'll see you back here for the next one.